All right, guys. So we're going to do kind of a PZ3 Christmas special. This one, we're going to be messing around with the remesh workflow a little bit and playing around with the idea of creating some similar like things to these. You can see they're basically just Boolean Ngon meshes. They're not too crazy. And they're just remeshed. Okay. But there's a certain way I do this, which I haven't explained on the channel yet. But most of these tricks I have shown at some point or another. And how to do this, anyways, in little sections or chunks, maybe. So let's just kind of get started here. I'm going to create a cube. Where this cube is, it's over there. Okay. And I'm going to place the cursor on it real quick. And so it's not a tutorial entirely, but more of a demo maybe. I'm going to get something going here. And this shape, got a loop cut. And let's do another loop cut and we'll extrude out here. Try to make something kind of interesting with subdivision real quick. Subdivide that. Yeah, maybe something like this. And then okay, pull up these verts here a little. And we could, of course, go add loop cuts elsewhere as needed. All kinds of different shape changes here. Pull the bottom down a little. So the main thing is if you have a subdivision base and it's fairly predictable when it subdivides, this is pretty cool because you can do booleans on them, right? You keep it kind of low res at first, and then later on you can crank it up a little bit higher. And but you can add primitive shapes into this. So like if you want to do like cylinders, for example, do this. That was gonna be kind of similar to those other models. Those were based off of engines, but um yeah, you don't have to do engines. Do all kinds of fun stuff with this setup or this arrangement. So do one smaller there. Let's do booleans now. Run that out, root it, move it. A lot of you guys are pretty familiar with the Boolean Ngon workflow anyways, right? Do all kinds of fun stuff like this. Like cylinder up here, maybe right there, and do a Boolean subtraction with it. Mirror it over. There you go. Make it a little bit pushed back. Adjust these a little. Symmetrize it. Then we can add, all kinds of other nonsense to this if we want. I'll keep working with cubes. We can certainly do that. Scale this, I don't know, down this way here. Going on over here. Pylon. Make it more interesting by either, extruding it or you can do new shapes as well. So we can add more primitive shapes. Right here, for example, I don't want to extract this and reuse it maybe. We'll skip that. We'll just keep going with the idea of cylinders, I guess, for now. Another one here. Pull it back, scale it. We'll bevel this manually. Yeah. Add a chamfer on it. What? Those should be more in alignment with each other, but let's duplicate, scale, and sink into the surface. Let's do, whatever we want to do here. Use a machine tools alignment feature. It's faster than what I'm doing. Probably on Z2. They're all even now, at least. Okay, so really kind of a cool thing already. But the fun thing about this is that like we can just keep adding to this if we can go crazy. Maybe this goes back. Maybe this chamfer is at the front here. This edge goes back like this, back this way somehow. Oh, um, can't do a loop cut right now. I didn't make this with quads. You want to try to keep these as quads usually for the most part. It doesn't have to be perfect quads. That's the big. So then later on we can do other little adjustments, maybe bevel there and shear things. So Control Shift S, do all that fun stuff, right? Make things happen. But all this can be shrunk at the top here. Oh, I am off center apparently. Okay. See if we can center that up. Maybe we can pull that edge here and a little bit further. Okay, yeah, I was wondering what was going on here. We got some non-planar faces going on. Um, Not the end of the world. It'll be okay-ish, but probably better to get rid of those. So to adjust that, we'd have to probably undo some of what we just did. Or tweak some of these sizes here. Maybe just do like a chamfer here. Something like that. Okay, so we got this cool little thing we just made rather fast. And we could definitely spend some time on it, make it way cooler than this, work out the back and all kinds of other fun stuff. But this subdivides up and down, which is cool. These we want a Boolean union to the main shape. So Boolean unions, already got some subtractions going, so that's good. We're going to go through and just grab the pieces we need, start doing our unions. And when you're doing a remesh workflow, it's better to have things as little separate parts and pieces, generally speaking. So not everything would get combined necessarily to like the main piece. You might end up doing like, if you have like cannons or weapons or something, you might do those as separate parts. But like this is part of the body, we would do that. Then the weapon would stick out of the body area. Nonetheless, I'm just going to go for what we have here just to do kind of the full demo. Because if we use the remesh workflow, we duplicate the base, we right click, we convert to mesh, pull it out. And you've seen this plenty of times. Channel Pro. It's usually okay. But the remesher, when we start doing this, obviously crank the remesher up and smooth shade it and you smooth it, right? The problem is that it's too faceted, right? So it's like, what do we do with that? Well, here's the trick that I haven't really shown on the channel yet. Basically, the base here is a subdivision, right? So we start cranking that up, first of all. Next of all my Booleans, I'm using manifold. It's slower than float, but float sometimes doesn't work out as well. So the manifold one's actually pretty good. But these shapes here, like if I Q and E with hard ops back to this one, like how do we increase the resolution on this? I've shown how to, do this before. You can increase the ends here, or you can make a non-destructive cylinder. Here's the trick. That turbo smooth modifier that I showed how to make in a previous video, use that. Okay. Basically, it creases automatically, right? So you don't have to go add creases to everything anymore. And a lot of times, as long as you have mostly cubic mesh, it will work on there and you can smooth it out. Okay. So you can see I can just adjust that now. And remember, when you use, it's converting sharps into creases. So if you use sharps now and you come in here and you say like, I want this all to be sharp, Control E and mark sharp, it's going to do it, right? So it's a crease. It's not the same thing anymore, right? In rare cases, you'll have to fix some of this back up into quad topology, like in the back, perhaps. If it's junky looking and it doesn't cause shading issues, really, doesn't cause like a major geometry issue, you'll be okay with it. So, but all of these can get turbo smooths basically, which is pretty cool. And that's the whole thing about the that modifier. Like this one, if it's a very cubic piece, you don't necessarily have to do anything to it. In our case here, I think this would look nicer rounded. So like very cubic stuff, you don't even have to run it. It's not required. It slows down your booleans anyways, so not necessarily needed. Go through here and just do this now. If I bring that collection back real quick, Alt H and unhide everything, maybe hide some things that we've already done. They're very distracting. But now I can come in here and I can just start hitting all these real quick with that turbo smooth. Okay. If I can get a hold of them. Sometimes box cutter or hard ops something will hide the collections again, or does something goofy, hides the cutters. Got one. You can increase that resolution as well. So like these cubic pieces out here, if we're not planning on smoothing them, we don't have to. They're more hard surface like or something, right? All right, cool. And there we go. We have all that going. This one we can increase a little bit. It's just a little bit smoother. That in the front. Now we take this and we could use the non-destructive remesher, like the remesh modifier and smooth. I'm going to duplicate it, convert it to a mesh, and send it out to the side. Now I can go into sculpt mode. You can initialize face sets by normals and crank that value up until it makes sense for the project anyways. You might have to still go through and, create some face sets manually using face set tool or edit mode selections, and then doing face sets to, or edit mode selection to face set. For the most part, I think we'll be okay here though. So we can auto mask face set boundaries, mesh filter, set it to smooth. And now you get in here and we can just click and drag to the right a little bit. No, not yet. Sorry. We gotta remesh it first. Okay. We're using the voxel remesher. Press R. Increase the resolution until your system can't take it no more. Okay. Maybe you don't remesh it that high. Just take it up to what works for your project. And in my case, you can see we're very low still. I'm looking at the face counts over here. I'm trying to hit around 1,000,000, maybe a little higher. You can definitely go very high with these. And you can see like it's mostly, I'd say it's close to where I want it. Blender caps out at a certain point. If you have to go higher and it caps out, just type in a number here. Otherwise, there's like a weird scale trick you have to do. I'm not going to go over it for right now, but you can adjust the object scale possibly. Anyways, I'm just going to right click or click and drag to the right a little bit till it all smooths out a little bit. Now we can turn that face set boundaries off. Go back in here. I'm going to turn face sets off in general so they're distracting. And now I'm going to go ahead and just click and drag to the right a little bit and smooth all that out. Okay. This is kind of the trick here. You have to use a high enough resolution that you can get these looking nice. But usually they'll come out and they'll still have a little bit of jankiness to them. So there's a little trick here that I found with this is that you can, take it up pretty high, remesh it, smooth it. And then what you do is you take it lower and you start working it back the other way carefully. We at 0.009, 0.00.01 now. Okay, Control R it. A little bit lower. And you can smooth this down a little bit if you need to. Okay. And take it lower. Smooth it out a little bit more. Okay, just make sure you got face sets turned off. It'll get a little bit soft, but a lot of times it really helps these areas out. The problem right now is if we right click and shade smooth, a lot of things might not start smooth shading in here. Okay. That could be a little bit of a problem. And so what you want to do is when you shade smooth, make sure you check or uncheck keep sharps. So you remove all sharp edges. That's a kind of an important step. Otherwise it'll look faceted, right? But for the most part, you can see we went from, just quick block out to something a little bit more complex looking. Once you assign a material to this kind of gray material, and but that's kind of the cool thing about it is you can do this all day long. Now it's still high density. We're at like 3,000 or 3,000,000 triangles there. If it's high density enough, right? Like let's say we had it a little bit higher. Okay, now we're a little bit higher. We can sculpt on this, guys. Like we can go through and start sculpting all we want on it. I'm going to keep it real simple here for this video, but we'll go back to solid view, press in. And once you have it established, like you're sure you're not going to change any mesh on here, you can start sculpting with sculpt layers add-on. Click plus new layer, and then you can use like the mask tool, get in here and change maybe your navigation to trackball. Now you can spin the view and you can start using the mask tool all day, turn pressure sensitive opacity or strength off. You can press Shift S and use the brush smoothing at least, or stabilizer or whatever. So you can do this now, right? Shift S to turn it back off. And now you can go ahead and have a little bit of fun and just come in here and start sculpting and creating panel lines or edges or whatever you want. As long as you don't go too small in detail, you'll be okay. All right. That's the main thing. And just take your time with it. Have a little bit of fun. Okay. This is great for concept design. You could potentially do high poly models this way as well. No problem. Talked about that a few times, but inflate instead of smooth. You may need to use A to use the mask menu, smooth it, or increase contrast or whatever. And there you go. So like you can start doing this whole model this way with symmetry as well. So we can go on symmetry on X. Other ways of doing panels perhaps, but for the most part, I think you kind of get where this is going. Could model a good bit of this in separate parts and pieces as well. And when you want to do this for very quick game meshes, like you can do that very quick low poly Boolean Ingon workflow mixed with subdivision or whatever. It can be a lot of fun, right? Because you can knock out a mesh that would be mostly useful as a game model, and then you can convert it into a high poly model basically, which is kind of cool. You can do it very fast. Close, I think as close as you can get to a ZBrush like workflow in Blender anyways. And so one of those things, the more you play with it, you'll learn the limitations of it. It's not going to be perfect necessarily as you create things, but it's a ton of fun, guys. And so, yeah, if these were separate cylinders here, and so I can use radial arrays on them and cut them up into their own pieces or parts, that would work out a lot better. But basically, we got another thing going on here now, which is kind of fun. And when you're done with it, so you don't kill your Blender file size, because if you're dealing with high density mesh, your file size, your Blender file size can get extremely large, um, in like the gigabyte territory. And so like this high poly one, like we're like, okay, yeah, we're pretty much done with it. We can decimate it, turn decimate off, type in 0.5, apply it. I would start with 0.5 or something higher even. If you go too low, it starts creating errors all over the wireframe, and you don't want that generally speaking, because then you'll have possibly, if you're trying to bake it, it could show up in something. Oh, it actually has it at 0.5 right now. So when it starts stretching out too far like this, it could show up in a bake. Okay. Even if you don't see it in Blender, it happens. Um, I think we'd be okay with this one, but you do want to be careful, guys. That's all I'm saying. For our case here, just lower it's reduced now. So if I want to add this to be like part of this piece over here, whatever this thing is, that's an engine underneath it or something. See where we're going with that? So you can imagine doing this more bespoke like, where all these things kind of work together and match a little bit easier, better. And now you end up with some crazy stuff possibly, right? They like merge together a little bit better, perhaps, or aligned for that matter. I feel like the alignment is off, but maybe no, it's off. Okay. But yeah, you could make it match that somehow or no, intersect it into it. It's kind of the insane thing about this for like just quick rough concepts. I mean, this is fun. Now you got a completely different thing going on here, what we had before. Totally cool. I'm gonna push those. Yeah, just a little intersection for now. Um, Did we do that different? Yeah, I don't. I imagine we could just do a mirror across one of these. See? We just keep going even crazier with it. That works. Yeah, all right. I wasn't expecting to use it that way, but sometimes it's nice to mess with the mirrors like that. You know what we could do? We could flip this. Oops, flip it like this. Yeah, do that. Maybe put one up here, intersect it, throw it around Y, 180 degrees. Put one bigger back here. It could possibly work. Maybe not. Kind of cool. There you go. Wouldn't try scaling it necessarily. You might lose overall form, but could work too, you know? All kinds of fun stuff you can experiment with and try. Might just work out. Who knows? Yeah. Give you an idea on like where to go next at least. And so ultimately, guys, I just wanted to go through that kind of workflow. I don't want to delete that. No, this one we do, not this. I just wanted to go through kind of that workflow real quick. Figure that maybe you would like to see it. Put it right on top again. I do like it on top, kind of towards the back. Maybe not that. Maybe angled slightly. Trying to make it work, but it's just not working with. I think it's because they have competing design styles. So they're not too far off. Pretty close. There you go. That's a little bit nicer. More in the right area. Could roll with that. Oh, if you're using Sculpt Layers Alpha or Sculpt Layers Alpha, Sculpt Layers add-on, used to that other add-on. Um, you should be able to toggle these on and off if you don't adjust the vertex, but sometimes it has issues. So just heads up on that one. Close. About where we need it. Like this crazy rocket sled thing now. I think we'll just leave it down there because they're not really matching. So it kind of works down there a little bit better than it does on the top, right? really low wings, and then we could always put something else back there at some point that maybe just works out for it better. I got all these pieces in here like this. Can't even see that one right now. Oh, you can see it. Just flip this one upside down real quick. Okay. Yeah, see, that's kind of the cool thing about all this is like, it's possible to do this kind of stuff at a really crazy level now. Even though we're just intersecting mesh, like if we try to remesh this and we combine it all together, it would probably turn out very bad. We want to do this in like individual parts and pieces, very well thought out usually. Not this junky, but the main thing is that like you could do it. Could You definitely could do this and make it all start to work out further in. Yeah. Go. And eventually, those have to work out more, but where I'd put them exactly. Guess straight back for now. Yeah, that's pretty wild looking. I like it. Crazy. How's it look with material and lighting? That's the question. It looks absolutely insane. Which side's the front and which side's the back, though? That's usually the issues you run into when working on these kind of projects. I'm very abstract very quickly, anyways. Pull that up in size, and from this side, it kind of works. I don't know. It's a runaway topic at this point. Kind of like the way it was, though. So I don't know. We'll go with that for now. And then, you do these things, and then eventually you find that at a certain point that you still create bespoke pieces for a mesh like this at a certain point. Still gonna do subdivision models and stuff, right? And symmetrize them and subdivide them. Going forward, line them to the left, loop cut them, turbo smooth them, whatever you do. Up to you. A little hard to model with that, the way it orbits right now, the turntable and trackball thing. Right? A little hard to work with. Eventually, that can get solidified. Could end up with some monstrosity before you know it. I'm sure. Surprise- huh, This one will dissolve. Hmm. This You could use creases if you want. You don't have to use holding edges for things like this just yet. That's the whole idea of that turbo smooth too, right? I don't know what's going on with that one. Eh, give that a little color. Why not? Let's do some glossy yellow. Get it smooth and do the solidify and then the subdivision, and solidify will crease inner and outer a little. That can do, should be able to do a vertex crease on this one. You want it to square up a little bit more, right? Do that. Or if I should just make that one yellow too. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't even know what we're creating right now, so all up in the air, but basically, you get the idea now, right? You mix all these techniques together, workflows, remeshers, and subdivision. You can have a lot of fun. Doesn't have to be too crazy or nothing. Things poking through here. That in a little. I feel like we need a loop cut right here, and some of these just need to be dipped in. Seems like a good call. I don't know if it is a good call, but it seems like a good call anyway. So maybe we can pull some of them back too. See more of what's in the front here. So hopefully, the whole idea of this video, anyways, guys, was just to get you kind of seeing this all come together and come to play. Because I've gone over all of this on the channel before. Everything I'm doing here, all these little techniques, they start to add together. It allows you to do more and more crazy stuff, basically, if you wanted to. It's not just about sub D modeling like the way it was. A little higher, right? Yeah, that's kind of cool. Now I get to check silhouette, top, bottom, left, right. Fix things we can fix. I'm going to move these in just because I don't like where they're at. Eventually, we can work that out somehow. But yeah, so there we go. Um, we'll do more videos in the future on all kinds of crazy projects that I want to do. Stuff like this kind of that maybe a little bit more well thought out. But I have to be very messy to get good designs going. It's one of those weird things. So like if I see something like this and I'm like, yeah, this is kind of a good design. It shouldn't take me a lot of time to come up with a rough thing, but working out something very particular, takes me a lot longer anyways. So see what happens. And in a way. Yeah, this has potential anyways. I'm gonna save it. So I'll see you guys in the next video. All right. Take care. Oh, and Merry Christmas.